our children to understand that they can make a difference in the world, even at this age. They, through all of our projects and the integrating of all the curriculums, we have, looking at the real world problems. What can our students do?
Integrating curriculum makes it so that students can see how things are related in the real world, so that they can make sense of things around them.
I think the biggest piece of advice I would give schools that are interested in becoming STEM schools is to remember that STEM is not a curriculum. It is all about the skills and the things that we're doing with students in class. It's about incorporating and making what we're teaching cross-curricular.
Take it as slow as you need to and just take little steps. One of the things when we first started this journey we heard was, okay, if you're learning about X in science, start reading about it in your reading block. After you're comfortable with that, add the next step. It's not an overnight process to take those steps, but to just make those little steps and commit to them, because it'll just make it easier for the kids to connect that way.
So an integrated STEM curriculum at our school can look like many things. A lot of times we start out with thinking with science and looking at our curriculum that we have for science and kind of seeing what we can do in other areas. For example, if we're tracking weather patterns in science, then we're going to want to do something with graphing in math, or if you can pull some nonfiction texts in reading about weather.
And so we went through science and said, okay, what is the science content we're teaching? And then we said, let's look through our reading program, because we do have some connections in our reading program that we might be able to connect. If not, what do we have in our lending library that we can pull in to do reading groups that go with that? And then we had to think about what are authentic connections with math that we can try to pull in as well to tie into this content. And so our teachers create these integrated units by looking at all the subject areas and then looking at technology. What does technology look like? Think about a content area and look through the lens of that content area first. If you're trying to look at all of them separate and figure out how they fit together, that can be hard. But if you start with one point and say, hey, we're gonna talk about erosion. We're gonna look through erosion. How can we tie reading into that? And thinking about, obviously, cross-cutting concept, cause and effect, but there's cause and effect in ELA as well.
How do we turn this into something that actually has meaning to them, that happens in the classroom or happens at home or happens in our community, so they understand what we're teaching instead of just basic adding and subtracting?
Every year we're always going back to what we did the previous year and tweaking it, and just as you're teaching through it, you notice, oh hey, like we did this lesson on landforms, for example, and the reading or the English language arts teachers did a lesson on Nevada history, and it would have been a good idea maybe next year, so we tweak it so they're learning about landforms of Nevada while they're also learning about Nevada history in English language arts. And you take notes and you kind of keep going over and over again and adjusting things so that they fit together.
I've seen a huge change in my students because we do more hands-on learning. In our classroom, we saw a city that they put together, and all that stuff was donated. They've spent time of actually figuring out how things work, and if it doesn't work, well, now what do I do? And that huge problem-solving piece has become so much better in my classroom because they're not just watching a video, they're actually doing the hands-on piece of it.
So recently I helped third grade team design their bee habitats. So we used a lot of design elements from elements of art. Another thing we've done recently was I took students into the planetarium and we were looking at like the northern lights and talking about the science behind that. Then we take that back into the art classroom and we're painting warm and cool colors for our northern lights, and it goes even beyond that. We've done writing extensions with that, and it's just equally assessing every content area within the unit.
It started off as just do like one project and just kind of do the whole PBL thing. I remember doing ratios and proportions, and the students were so excited for the project, which was like a cereal project where they had to figure out how much exercise they would have to do to burn off different calorie meals, and like the students thought it was the most exciting thing, and it had the most real world impact on them of, oh, if I eat this meal from McDonald's or this cereal for breakfast, I have to work out this amount of time. And from there, you kind of, once you get the ball rolling, as you see that it's easier in the long term, and students enjoy more and you get a lot more buy-in with the projects.
The water filter, we had the Coral engineers come to our school and we worked together and they had us do this project about watersheds.
And since all the countries don't have that and they have to drink dirty water, we thought that we could try to do an experiment to see if we can make something out of common household items like cotton balls, paper towels, a plastic bottle that we could cut and pour dirty water in and see if we could actually purify it.
So all these different explorations and creativity projects always lead to more projects which we can do at home and we can think of, which is just amazing.